Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Chocolate Hazelnut Podcast.
I'm Chocolate.
And I'm Hazelnut.
And welcome to our show. And as we begin this next episode, do you want to outline it?
Just a quick little. So today's episode is going to be about child support from a different perspective.
Boom! She trying to get stuff started.
And
you really trying to start a fight today, huh?
You know what? We gotta watch this because it's gonna be a lot to unpack.
Let me ask you: is this gonna be like the stereotypical child support thing that people see?
No.
So
it's gonna be one that a lot of women will be like, "I told you." They don't understand. Let's get into it.
You sure it ain't gonna be the men like that? They ain't gonna be over here crying with their panties in the butt?
They might be crying.
They gonna get their boxers in the wad?
Let's go.
All right, let's go.
Baby, when I tell you the girls are emailing. Oh, this is a good Saturday morning. It's the boundaries that I'm loving. Y'all making me so y'all making me proud. Nanny Q, I've been looking at your page all day, cracking up laughing. At first, I didn't want to tell my story. However, here goes. 4 years ago, me and my ex-husband got a divorce. I found out that he was cheating on me, and I couldn't take it anymore. I told him he could have everything that had his name on it, including the kids. He thought I was joking. I woke up one morning. He was gone to work. I packed all of my stuff into a U-Haul truck, took the kids and all of their stuff to his mom's house, told his mom we had decided to get a divorce, and he was taking full custody. She told me that was the best decision that she had ever heard of because men do not take full custody of their kids. They just make sure that they send their little child support to the moms. I did one better. I put myself on child support. I was paying him $1,000 a month. I didn't have a problem with it. I did weekends. I drew up a contract that I do weekends, holidays, and the whole summer with the kids. At the time, the kids were 9 and 13. I didn't have a problem with it. I had purchased a 3-bedroom condo. The kids have their own room. Everything is going lovely. My ex decided that the $1,000 wasn't enough for him and he needed more. So we went to court. When we went to court, I had to make sure I still got time. When we went to court, the judge lowered my $1,000 child support that I was paying to $430 a month. The judge told him, with the kids being at that age, there's no reason for me to pay $1,000. He was so upset that he started cursing and he almost went to jail for having a outburst in court. He didn't know that I was sending the oldest money through Cash App for her class trips, this is her senior year, so I already paid for everything. He lied and told me he needed money to pay for her class trip and her class pictures, but everything was paid. When I asked him for the information so I could pay it, he said, just send me the money and I'll do it. I brought this up in court. The judge said, because he has been lying and taking the money to do God knows what and not taking care of the kids, it is in his best interest that he might need to get a second job to take care of himself, because he told the court he is not working. It's too hard to work and take care of kids, so he is living off the child support. That is why he needs more. They told him that he needs to start getting a job. Sorry, y'all, I'm recording for my podcast and doing YouTube stuff. So, I have to make sure. Okay. So, I think I left off. It's too hard to work and take care of kids, so he's been living off child support. That is why he needs more money. They told him that he needs to get himself back on his feet. The judge stopped, and at this moment, Nanny Q, I wish that I could have recorded the rest of this session. The judge looked at my ex-husband and said, how is it that you as a father feels that someone needs to take care of you? However, there are millions of women doing all of this and more by themselves with no child support. Period. And she got period in quotations. My ex-husband looked at me and looked at the judge, and the judge said, I'm not finished. You men come in here thinking that you men come in here thinking that you did something because you have full custody of your kids and you're getting child support. However, women do it every day. Men decide if they want to be a father. Women are automatically the mother. Yes, I have seen some horrible moms in here, and yes, I've also seen some wonderful dads. But you, sir, take the cake. You want your child support increased so you can sit at home and take care of the kids. But looking over the report and the paperwork from your wife and hearing her statement, she has been taking care of everything. You haven't worked in the last 3 years. She says that you don't cook, you don't clean, all you do is play your game. Sir, you are too old to be playing a game on a full time basis. I, at 62, only get to play my PlayStation twice a week, and that's if I'm good. I have a family and I have a wife. I try to make sure that even with this job, I balance the time out. And the look on my husband's face, Nanny Q, was of disgust. He couldn't believe that the judge was saying this to me. The judge also told me that it is mandatory that I pay for the kids to get counseling because parents do not understand how hard divorce is on the kids. I've never in my life heard of a judge saying that a family needs to get counseling. I am so happy that I did everything that he said. He even told me to get counseling and heal. Just because this relationship didn't work doesn't mean that one in the future won't. He told me to make sure that I'm open and that he told us both that when we both start dating, do not at that time decide that you want to tell somebody how you feel.
No, I'm gonna let you go on this one because you said you had stuff to say.
So,
But go ahead.
had I known this was going to be the video, I would have pulled up a counter video to this because I have one in mind, but I know I can't find it right now. So, I will give kudos to the judge for holding him accountable for not working when he's supposed to be taking care of his kids.
Mm-hmm.
I will give him respect for mentioning the ladies that do it themselves. However, with the context that was given, the one thing that the judge did leave out is that generally, when it comes to custody of the children, it's automatically awarded to the woman. The man typically will have to go and get an outside lawyer because the lawyer will be appointed to the woman.
But I feel like that's what he was saying when he says that men decide to be a father, whereas women is automatically the mother.
Yeah, but it's a thing called paternity fraud.
I got that.
And it's somewhere like around 25% today's time. And that's just an estimate. I don't know how accurate it is, so don't quote me on it. Imagine back in the day before DNA, and all you had to go off was that child looked like him, or it's the same blood type. But my point is, a lot of time they say, "Oh, man chooses to be a father," but at the same time, this is one of those things that's a double-edged sword. You can either mandatory DNA test, which I'm for and against because that violates people's rights, and that's a whole nother story. Or when you go up before child support court, everyone involved, from the mother to the father, should sit down, do a DNA. Hold on, before you jump in there.
Yes.
Do a DNA test. And yes, in a lot of states, you have the choice to do that. If you're not married, in some states, it's automatically done. And if the guy is the father, and he's found to be, he should have to reimburse the court for the DNA. If he's found not to be, the mother should have to reimburse the court. However, to hold that against him because he's not working, when we know out here there's a lot of women out here raising children that's not working at all. I'm not saying being a mother is an easy job, and a parent is not an easy job because every child is different, every attitude is different, every situation is different. But it sounded more like he was making a political statement versus holding him accountable. I do applaud him for holding him accountable because he do need to get off his ass and stop playing games and go work and set an example for the children. But the way in which the judge went and did that sounds more political statement. And politics in the courtroom, as much as we like to say, should be out of it, it's there. And that's my only issue with it. I have no problem with them holding him accountable. But
so my question is, how did it sound? How did it sound political? Because, like, that's what I'm trying to understand.
Because he gave a whole speech on, you're a grown man, you should be up here working. He cut the child support back. She never said how much she grows. We know $400.
Well, remember, she had been paying $1,000.
Yeah,
she grew up.
No, I got that, but that if her income went up, typically the child support goes up. It doesn't matter if the child is 5 or the child is 17. If the income goes up, typically the amount of support goes up proportionately, because what they do is they take what they say you can afford to pay and they divvy it out.
That's fine, but my point is this, right? Because, mind you, when she first left, the oldest was 13. So no, this is what I want to say. The oldest was 13. At the point now that they are in court, the oldest is graduating high school. She's a senior, which means that she's somewhere between 17 and 18 at this point. So from 13 to 17, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what, 4 years, right? Okay, let's just go with 4 years. 4 years minimum.
Just depends on if they.
I said somewhere between 17 and 18, generally speaking. You know, this is America. So, with that being said, out of the last 4 years, the dad was working prior to, and at least the first year that they, she was gone. And so then, in the last 3 years after that, he's not working. We don't know why he's not working, anything like that. But then it's like he's not cooking, he's not cleaning. He's asking for more money, specifically saying that it's going towards, her senior trip and this and that and third, whereas it's already paid. So the money that he's asking for, and hold on, I have a point I'm trying to make. The money that he's asking for, granted, I'm all for, like, of the household needs something where your kids are, like making sure like the parents are, on the same page about things. I'm all for that. But I also feel like the problem here was that, one, you're not working. Two, you can't say that you need this money for her trip and everything when her trip and all of that is already taken care of. So now you're just trying to elicit more money. And it's just like, it's one thing to say like, okay, well, I just want more money, because for the point of them even going to child support court at this point, after they were cordial in the beginning, is because he's probably been doing this for a good long while, and she's hit the point of like, I'm not doing that. That's why she's cash apping the child directly instead of giving the money to the father, right? So that is a whole issue by itself. But I feel like with all of that being said, because we don't know all of the details and evidence that was presented in the case, but from what the judge said, he says, based on the evidence and everything that your wife presented in court, this is what you've been doing, and this is what's been happening, XYZ. So that's why he came after him that way, in my opinion. I don't feel like it was political. I feel like the judge looked at all of the facts that was gathered, because the wife came with receipts, and the dad was like, well, I still need more money because it's hard being a single parent. And the judge was like, so what? There are single parents out there all the time, especially women. So, you being a single dad is no exception. That's what I feel like he was trying to say.
Again, I still feel it's political for the same reasons you just mentioned why you said it's not. It is because regardless of whether he was working or not, and I'm going to touch on the money for the field trip in a second, regardless of whether he was working or not, the fact that he's filing for the increase in child support, they still supposed to do it based off of.
No.
Yes,
no,
it
no,
is.
No. When you do a child support review, just because you're requesting more money.
Pause. So based off of the fact that he was filing for a child support increase, the judge is supposed to look at the income, and they're supposed to determine the amount that the other primary parents can afford, and then they determine the amount. That amount can now be determined if the increase should be increased or decreased. But based off of the way that the judge laid into him, he didn't even say that that's how he determined it. He determined it off of what she said she did, and off of the fact that she cash out the children. Most of the time in child support cases, whether money is handed directly to the other spouse or children, that is not calculated in the money that is given based off the court order. Yes, she voluntarily submitted this and agreed to an amount, but typically it has to go through the court or it does not count. Now, with regards to the field trip, she may have paid for the field trip directly, but it doesn't mean that he knew that it was paid for. He may have genuinely been asking for it, and because she went to the child, we don't know if she said, "Don't tell your father that I've already paid for it." We don't know that. Or, "I've already sent you the money," and said, "If your father
She did
doesn't,"
say
hold
that.
on. She didn't say that.
She said that she had
She
paid the
paid
girl,
for
but
yeah,
to cash out,
yeah,
and
but
she
she
said
didn't.
he didn't know that.
Yes, so he may have genuinely been asking for
Okay.
the field trip money.
Okay.
And then that was used against him to show that he's trying to ask for more money. He may have actually need the money because he's obviously not working. $1,000 a month, that's $12,000 a year. They didn't say anything about his living situation. Was he living with someone else? They didn't say, was he, they didn't give us any background. So we're going basically
we're
off of the
going based
fact.
on the fact that when she left, he had the house with the
Yeah,
kids.
but we don't know if that's still continuing.
I know,
to be
but
the
I'm just
case.
saying we can just go under the assumption they're still living
We
at
can
home.
infer that,
Yeah.
but we don't know how much that rent or mortgage is, and $1,000 a month is not anything if that's all you're referring to. But that's not her problem if he doesn't have the proper amount. But what I'm saying is the way it's said, and this is why I feel like the judge was making a political statement, because there are plenty of cases, both male and female, where they have primary custody and they do not work. Now we can go to the outliers like with celebrities, but I don't like to infer them because that's a different situation. My point is that I still feel like the judge made a political statement based off of the outline that he laid for his reasoning for decreasing the child support, telling him, "Oh, you need to get a job." Yes, he needs to get a job, but if that mother's there and she's taking care of it, she can actually afford it based off her income. That income needs to be that child support need to be ordered at $1,000 or higher, if that's what she can actually afford based off of the court's calculation. Now, based off of the court's calculation, the $400 for how many children was three? Two. If that's what the court's calculated based off the income, which she didn't include, so I don't know. That's the one piece I would like to hear on this. What was the court's calculation based off of the income, not off of the judge's opinion of the situation? That's why like it's political.
I feel like you are trying to pull facts that, like, to try to make them more specific, and I get where you're coming from with that. But given the fact that the person who wrote in to Ask Nanny Q, shout out to her, love your show or your TikTok channel, whatever. But the lady who wrote in is telling it from her standpoint. So she's telling you the details that she felt was necessary. She did mention that the judge, like, okay, because when you go to court, and if anybody has ever been to child support court, they do look at all of your information. They look at your income, this, that, and the third. So if, like, they will tell you how much that they think that you should pay based on the factors such as your income, your living expenses, all of that. They will say, okay, you know what, based on this evidence right now, you are required to pay, $400. Based on this is what you can afford to pay. Now, if you on your own, you go and have this mutual thing because you can disagree and say, well, you know what, I don't think that's enough, I will pay you $1,000. You can do that. But that doesn't mean that the court has to agree with that either. And just because the court says that you owe this money doesn't mean that they have to agree with you paying more, right? Now, the other thing that I do want to say with all of that is the fact of, up until now, it is not implied that they had even been in court before, because she said she
said she went and filed her own support.
She said, I put myself on child support. I drew up paperwork to put on child support. So that means
Can I make a comment off of what you just said? She said, I drew up paperwork. To me, that means she went and filed it on herself.
Not necessarily, but even with that, because when you do that, you can go to, like, let's say that they went and they was like, we want to put a child support order in place, and if you and the other parent agree, this is what the terms we agreed to, the court would say, okay, they will not question it. They're like, if y'all are in agreement, cool, y'all do y'all. The court is not going to come and say, well, this is right, this is not right. They're not going to analyze it. If you and the other party are in agreement, but that's basically what she said. I drew up the paperwork, I put myself on child support. Obviously he had to agree to it because that was the agreement between the two of them, $1,000.
And again, the part that I said is missing, and which I believe that she should have included, is not telling how much she made, but say, hey, based off of the determining factors, the judge said he pays or she pays whatever amount. That's what I'm saying. That's the part that
but
I
see,
feel
that's
that
what
should
I'm
have been
trying to
mentioned.
say. That's the difference that I'm trying to get you to understand.
There is no difference.
It is a difference because if the first time around, like let's say,
I'm not talking about the first time around.
Listen.
I'm talking strictly the second time around. The first time around, she agreed to pay $1,000. Okay, good for her. But I'm talking about the second time around when the judge was involved and decreased the amount. The part that I would like to have heard was the part that said, based off of the finding factors, not based off of his behavior, but based off of the facts of the income this person can afford, because out of people that pay child support, they go before the court.
So our volume is probably shit, just so you know.
Based off of, I'm looking at that right there.
All right, but the microphone down.
That's fine. I'm looking at that right there. Based off of the information given, that's the part that I'm saying.
All right,
I would
so
like to hear.
I'm gonna say this because, quite honestly, all of that is mute to me. What I find more important in this entire story is the fact that because so many men try to act like child support is the end all be all, and they're like, oh, I'm paying all of this money on child support, like whether or not, like, you know, he's working or not working, at the end of the day, if she's consistently making her child support payments and doing the extra, helping the daughter with the school and all this other stuff, she's doing her part according to being the non-custodial parent. And for all of the men out there who are always acting like women are being exaggerative, or like, oh, they just want my money, or, you know, they're not even spending it on the kid, what are you doing with that $300 I send every month, and all this other like nonsensical stuff. Like when the shoe is on the other foot, it hits differently. And I, for one, do not blame her and for what she did, because she is getting her kids. She said, I get them on the weekends, and in the summertime, the holidays, that whole thing, whatever. She's still there for her kids, but she's not the primary parent. And at the end of the day, because so many men love to talk down on women, like it's their fault that they end up in these situations of being single mothers. It wasn't her fault that her husband decided to cheat. It wasn't her fault that, you know, she decided that she didn't want to stay in a relationship where, you know, the trust was gone and he was going to do X, Y, and Z, all of this other stuff. And as long as her kids are taken care of, all I say is that he cannot be bitter at her because those are still his kids as well.
He can't be bitter at her, but that what you're saying is not even close to what I'm saying.
I know, but I feel like that point is mute. To me, it's
to
mute.
you it's mute.
Because
to you it's mute.
The whole point of this story is that he was upset with her because he wanted her to pay more money.
Okay.
And then the judge told him that he's not entitled to more money. And, you know, you're caught up on the fact of what her income is.
No,
quite honestly, what her income is doesn't matter.
It does matter because it determines how much you can actually afford to pay.
So if the judge determined, he said based on evidence. So if he determined that what she should be paying is
based off of
her evidence, her income, what she's paying, what she's doing, all of that gets considered.
You as someone who knows how the child support system works knows that the amount that you give someone out of pocket is moot when it comes to
and that's my
amount.
point. What she's paying on top of that,
it doesn't matter how much she gives to children. It doesn't matter if she's paying. It
so
doesn't matter
if
what
she's
she's
paying all of this stuff on top of it, it don't even matter. So what she is like, let's say right now, when he determined that she should be paying the $430 is based off of her discretionary income. That means whatever her bills is, whatever her income is, all of that other kind of stuff. Whether or not she's paying insurance on the kid.
That's not what the
he
judge
doesn't
said.
have to go down the line with that.
The judge,
he does not have to go down the line.
That's why he's playing a political statement.
It's
Because
not a political statement.
It is a political statement because
All
he
right.
said, you are a grown man who plays games all day. You need to get out there and work. They do not say that a lot of times to the women that are out
yes,
here.
they do.
But
They
my thing
absolutely
is,
do.
if the judge just says, hey, based off her income, this is what she can afford to pay. But it's the whole political statement that he made based off of, you can play games. I only get to play it twice a week if I'm lucky. You need to get out there and work. Yes, he does need to get out there and work, and I agree with that. He calls him out on other stuff. Yes, he's holding them accountable, but in general, he's making a political statement. Because had this been a woman, he would not have said anything. He's talking about, there's women out here that do it every day. Yes, it is women out here that do it every day.
He said there,
but the system is. But
hold on, I know,
and I'm going there.
And some wonderful fathers.
And I'm going there.
I feel like where he's coming from is just a place of, if you fall into the category of being a terrible parent, he gonna tell you what you need to do better.
Again,
I don't feel like him being a dad had anything to do with it.
I believe it was a political statement.
Okay, but that's your opinion, and you're entitled to it.
Just like you're entitled to yours.
But with all of that being said, at the end of the day, like I said, I feel like the gist of this whole thing is the dad in this case, got a dose of reality, because we don't know how long they were married, but they were together long enough to have a 13-year-old and a 9-year-old, and the wife, I'm sure, was doing, more work than he really anticipated, being the primary or the default parent, which I've talked about before. And so now when he's the default parent, he's just like, it's too hard. And it is what it is. Parenting is hard. Like, it is for everybody.
In my opinion, he needed to get a job. But in this particular case, I still, like I said, I believe the judge was making a political statement, because there are plenty of other situations out here which, like I said, had I known this was the case, I'd have prepared a counter video.
I gave you the option to.
I didn't. I don't look at the videos that you
but
prefer.
like I said, I gave you the option.
I have. You already know.
But by the same token, though, we're gonna wrap this one up because we've gone like way over. But we do have more content coming, and we're probably going to get into another heated debate. So be on the lookout for the next. Be on the lookout for the next episode. And do you have anything else to add?
Yes. Repeat after me. Spirited, not heated.
Heated.
Spirited.
Heated.
Hey, in the comment, tell us what you think. Was it spirited? Yes. Or heated debate? No. Down in the comment section.
Talk to yourself. All right. Thanks, guys.
All right.